We've already had several running backs sign on the first day of the tampering period, but none of those signings have the type of shockwaves that this one does. Kirk Cousins is done in Minnesota and is officially headed to the Atlanta Falcons on a 4-year deal. Kirk Cousins' agency broke this news over on Twitter, and Kirk Cousins' wife has family that lives right outside of Atlanta. So this is going to be a semi-type of homecoming for him, and this definitely felt like a place that he wanted to be. And I can assure you, Falcons fans are going to be just as excited for him as well. Listen, the fantasy repercussions from this signing are going to be bigger than anything that we have seen so far. So give me a minute as we try to break down exactly what this is going to mean for both teams. And of course, we're going to start with Atlanta, Kirk Cousins' new team. Now, the numbers that we've seen from Kirk Cousins during his time in Minnesota will probably continue to be the norm that we see from him in Atlanta. Yes, he is going from Justin Jefferson, arguably one of, if not the best wide receiver in all of football, down to Drake London. But when you look at this offense for Atlanta as a whole, it still is comparable from a talent standpoint all over the place. So Kirk Cousins should still be a top quarterback option for those of you that need one in fantasy. But really, you want to know what the ramifications are for the people around him, considering that under Arthur Smith, the Atlanta offense has been such a letdown. They've tried guys like Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder. Nothing has worked out for them. Kirk Cousins could finally be the answer. Overall, this is a huge bump across the board. Am I ready to make Drake London a top 12 wide receiver? Probably not just quite yet, but he's definitely going to be in that mid to high wide receiver 2 category for quite some time. As far as Kyle Pitts goes, if there was ever a time for a breakout, now would be the time. And I'm sure that Kyle Pitts truthers will be coming in and drafting him hot once fantasy drafts get here. And Kyle Pitts for me will be right in that mid to high tight end 1 range. Looking at how Kirk Cousins loved his time with TJ Hawkinson, I absolutely could see Kyle Pitts being utilized quite a bit as well. And with a potential change in offensive philosophy, maybe we see Kyle Pitts spend a little bit more time on the line as a true tight end instead of cut out wide. But I'll tell you who this makes huge waves for. It's Bijan Robinson. Because this was a guy last year that we looked at as being a potential top fantasy back. And he still finished with really good numbers last year, but not nearly as consistent as we would have liked. And this new coaching staff has already said they love Bijan Robinson and what they could potentially do for him. Having Kirk Cousins at the helm and having true weapons on the outside is going to open up the run game for Bijan Robinson. And right now, I'm looking at Bijan Robinson being at least my running back 2. And for those of you out there that, you just feel like Christian McCaffrey may not hold up for an entire season again like he did in 2023, maybe Bijan Robinson is the number 1 overall running back and potentially the number 1 overall player. Signing Kirk Cousins was absolutely monstrous for what we're going to get from Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. And I don't know how much more I can get excited for that either. But let's talk about Minnesota for a quick second as well. Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota leaves a huge gap for Justin Jefferson and a lot of other players right now. And when you take a look at what they could potentially end up doing, all signs have pointed towards them drafting a quarterback. But now them moving up in the draft to get the quarterback that they want makes a whole lot of sense. And if they go with a guy like J.J. McCarthy, I could see them bringing in a veteran quarterback to start that may begin the year. But whoever that's going to be is completely up for grabs right now. For me, Justin Jefferson is going to take a pretty big drop in my rankings. And I'm looking at him as more as a mid wide receiver 1 to low end wide receiver 1 until I get more information on what this offense is going to look like. Because you have to remember, they've also released Alexander Mattison right now, and they still have Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. Who knows when he'll be ready after tearing his ACL. Headliners, this move is absolutely massive, and it has so many repercussions. We had to make sure that we covered it all. But don't worry, we're going to be diving way deeper through our videos this offseason, so make sure that you stick around all offseason. Turn on the bell notifications, so anytime new breaking news comes out from the fantasy football world, we will be on it this week with free agency, and of course, when we're dropping more content throughout the offseason, you'll know about it as well.
Analytics, all the chain, all the channels, not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headline